Kia ora koutou. Mel, Searle, toko ingoa. Lovely to be here. Really great pleasure. So I'm Mel, as I said, I'm from the Career Development Centre. I'm one of a team of 5 career advisors who work over at near the link, the Information Services Building. We provide a service to all students. You can make appointments to see us. We run events like this sort of thing, help with events like this sort of thing. We also run seminars, so you can access our services freely, and I will show you some links to how to get to us. But yeah, it's my great pleasure to be here. And look, I personally and professionally believe that one of the best ways of learning about options is to learn from other people's experiences. So I think it's an absolute treat that you have in store tonight to listen to these stories of other people and how they've got to be where they are, be inspired. And actually, just a little point in terms of listening, I think that tonight when you are listening to the different speakers, this is after myself, I really encourage you to listen for how people got to where they are, sort of rather than listening for the job that they have, the decisions that they made along the way, the people they spoke to, and the opportunities. And as Miriam mentioned, how their plans changed along the way, because this is the reality. The world and nothing stays the same. So just to sort of, this is my plan. I've got way too much to say for the time that I've got available, so I'm going to be fairly speedy, but generally sort of talking about the reality for graduates of biomedical sciences, the situation and the opportunities, then a real plug for the importance of knowing yourself, because it's really, really important for many different things, then ways of exploring the possibilities for you, and then some suggestions for actions for later on. So, and just before I start, I'm interested to know, and I just want you to think about this in terms of, what are you thinking at this point in time? Are you someone who is discovering possibilities in terms of your future direction, or are you at the stage where you're actually starting to focus on a few options? Perhaps you're at the stage of actually taking action and applying for things. So this may influence the way that you listen and the sorts of things that you pick up as we hear from our speakers this evening. So a little bit of reassurance, really. It's completely normal to not know where you're heading. I think your final years, couple of years or more than that, massive transition. Lots of work to get done. You're focusing on your studies. You might be surrounded by people who seem to have their life sorted out, especially if you flat with law students and accountants perhaps, or those who are in professional medical programs. And yeah, it can feel that you're the one that doesn't have stuff sorted out. But, if you talk to a group of adults, you will find that this is very, very normal. And I think normalizing uncertainty is a really good thing to do. Yeah, your major is not your destiny at all. Guess what I first studied? No, I'm not going to ask you to guess, but I'll tell you, microbiology. So, who knows where you may go when you study what you studied at the beginning, you enjoyed it. I never regret one moment of my learning of microbiology. It's taken me to all sorts of interesting places, and here I am now. Nowhere near a lab, nowhere near a gram stain or any of that sort of thing, but still really great knowledge that I don't regret at all. So what I encourage you to think about, instead of what sort of matches my major, is this kind of thing. What kinds of problems and what sectors are of interest to me, and what kinds of problems can my skills and capabilities help solve? Because there are lots. Science knowledge is very, very important and highly valued. You probably take it for granted because you know stuff, but there are a lot of people out there in the community who do not understand science, and they need people like you to understand it for them. Just a wee list of all of a few, really, sectors that you might look into. So yeah, knowing yourself is very, very important. So I think it's super valuable to spend some time reflecting on what actually motivates you. Choosing your job in a way that is compatible with this will lead to a lot more lasting and more career fulfillment than you would find from, say, focusing on salary or something like that. So I think that if you can get a feel for what matters to you, your preferred work environment, and your values, sort of build that into your decision making as well. But it can take time. I think, really big questions, as I mentioned, what do I want? What matters to me? And who do I want to become? Are questions that are really worth spending some time on. And yeah, someone said to me earlier this evening, someone who's just recently got a new job, this is what I was wanting. And it's something that you really do need to think. What is it that you want to be doing each day? And what do you want to be contributing to? I just put this up. You're all scientists. So don't we all just love a bit of a theory when we're a scientist? So this is a career theory. And I'm not going to go into this in any detail, but I put it up there. Based on science, there's a lot of research behind this. And it might seem really simple. But you'd be surprised how many people do not get this two sets of information, knowing about myself, knowing about my options really thoroughly. And then not stopping there, but thinking about how do I actually deal with this information? How is it that I make decisions? And then going to that sort of metacognition stage of really analysing your decision-making style. By getting some clarity around this can really help you to make better, stronger, more informed decisions in the future. Just keep in mind. So your degree's given you a lot. It might not feel like there's a logical place for your in terms of a job, but it's the skills that you have, and they are many. If you are when you're presenting yourself in terms of writing CVs, you need to have pretty good scientific vocabulary that's accurately describing what you bring, and I encourage checking out the learning outcomes from your papers to help you with that. A little bit of reassurance here. This is from the World Economic Forum and predictions for 2030 in terms of what the skills that are predicted to be valued. Hey, and guess what? They line up pretty closely with what you guys have. Your analytical thinking, digital skills, all of that stuff, really valuable, and it'll just be a matter of you taking it forward. And this is just reinforcing the same idea. For people like me, and I don't mean to be ageist at all, but young people like you have superpowers in terms of your digital literacy and your ability to attack problems from different angles. So yeah, really value that. Just moving on to preparing yourself in terms of applying for things in the future, really encourage you to build evidence that you can use to talk to employers about or present your skills to. Employers very much do recruit based on evidence rather than just kind of claims. And so building these narrative about your experiences and ways of presenting it to employers is super important. We encourage a structure like this where you actually get in the habit of recording, what were you doing in terms of the situation and the task? What were the skills that I was using? And what was the outcome or the result of this? And this might be within your papers, but it could equally be in voluntary situations, part-time work, etc. It all helps to sort of gradually build up a record of who you are and what you bring. What's cool about this is once you actually get some information and put it all together into a CV, you're like, wow, I can do all this stuff. I know these things and I have these skills, and it can feel really satisfying. And this is what I'm talking about. All of these different experiences come together to be really important in terms of your documents when you apply for jobs or approach employers, and it filters through to job interviews as well in terms of things that you have to say about what you bring to a role. I'm just going to skim through this fairly quickly. So there are lots of different entry points into work, and I encourage you to sort of become familiar with what entry roles can look like. Networking is super important. Not at all talking about promoting yourself, but by talking to people, meeting people, and learning from them. We often show this document. There's an absolute irony here. Employers tend to spend most of their attention when they're looking for people in the bottom part of the triangle, people they know, fellow workers, internal hires. People who are looking for jobs start at the top because that's where the visible jobs are. So the encouragement here is to meet more people. Maybe get an entry-level job within an organisation because then you become an internal applicant. LinkedIn, really important. I'm speeding up because I'm running out of time, and take note there, you can join a seminar and learn how to set up your LinkedIn profile. Checking out job ads. They look weird and very complicated and strange language to start with, but by really sort of picking them apart and mapping them to the things that you've done, you can start ticking some boxes and feeling like, hey, you could apply for this job. Yes. Be a scientist in this process. Do your research, analyze things, test assumptions, gather data. Here's your challenge for the next 100 days. Spend some time on knowing yourself, some time exploring opportunities, and then start taking some actions. When we're listening tonight, as I said earlier, listen for the patterns and not the job titles. Sort of just be quite critical when you're listening. A couple of plugs. As Miriam mentioned, there's absolute gold on that YouTube channel. I listened to the one about the patent examiner the other day. Absolutely amazing, really worth listening to. Struggling for some experience, check out UniCrew. IPLs, wonderful, inspiring. Inaugural professorial lectures, in other words, freely available and on YouTube. And you can come back and have a look at the slides if you need the thing. And a plug for an upcoming career event. In September, we will be running a session, it's 9th September, where we'll have physiologists and, oh, I didn't spell cardiac very well, did I? Sorry. Speaking about their journey from uni to working. And that's, thanks very much.